the bubbles are starting to pop. These bubbles that people live in are starting to pop because they're having to face reality now. Bills are due. Real quick, make sure you share this video, make sure you subscribe, and make sure you hit that bell notification down below so that you are alerted when the newest video comes out. So I want to start out with some good news today, some news of encouragement. There was an article in The Hill today. CNN sees ratings swoon in April. CNN's ratings were down 26% in April compared to last year. To give you an idea of how bad they're doing right now, the cartoon networks are actually beating CNN. Reruns of Bonanza are beating CNN. Their highest rated show finished in 26th place. Now this is encouraging because it's telling me that people are waking up. It's telling me that people are getting fed up. They're getting sick of this propaganda. And it's telling me that people are starting to think for themselves. They're coming to their own conclusions, that they don't need to be told what to think. They're making their own rational decisions, thinking for themselves. And so this is encouraging. This is great news. This is positive. And this is happening because you guys are waking people up. You're waking your friends up. And even though maybe some of them, you know, don't admit it, they're starting to think. They're starting to see what's going on. And so we may not see immediate results, but sooner or later, people start thinking about what you said. And if they have any brain at all, any common sense, it's going to stick with them. And sooner or later, they're going to see what's going on. And a lot of these people are now waking up and seeing what's going on. And the proof is in the pudding here because the ratings are getting clobbered. And so I think we're going to continue to see people search for alternative sources. I think we're going to continue to see people walk away from outlets like this because they're getting sick and tired. They can see, they're starting to see what's going on. They're seeing the agenda, the propaganda, and the lies. As people continue to wake up to the propaganda and the lies, I believe they're also starting to wake up with what is happening here with the economy. Official inflation is not 2%. Official inflation is actually probably 10 to 12%. There's a word that's been going around, and it's called workaround. And what that means is these are changes. The word workaround, it means changes that individuals, that families, even businesses must make to adapt to a world of rising prices because of the mass inflation we're seeing. So people are having to basically, people, families, businesses are having to cut certain things out in order to stay in business, in order to stay afloat. Obviously today in America, we see more women working than ever in the history of America. And why is that? Because even with two people working in a household, they can barely afford to pay the bills. By the time they pay rent or mortgage, their auto loans, their credit card bills, food, putting their kids through school, clothing, you name it. They're barely getting by. With two incomes now in America, barely gets you by. Shoppers are switching to less expensive stores. Take a look around. What do you see opening up? You see all these dollar stores, all these discount stores. You're seeing Dollar Trees, Dollar General, dollar stores, Walmarts, Kmarts. I mean, look around at your area and see what type of stores are opening up now. And we're not seeing higher median type of stores. Those are all going out of business. We're seeing the very bottom of the bottom. The expensive stores are far and few between. They're in certain areas, in certain pockets, but for the most part, what we're seeing are the very low end type retail stores. You look at the types of food people are eating today or buying. You know, for the average person who was maybe eating steak twice a week, maybe they're eating steak once a week, maybe they're eating steak once every 2 weeks, maybe they're replacing steak with chicken and hamburger, something less expensive. One thing that I've observed is take a look at the amount of fast food restaurants. This is what people are eating today: McDonald's, Del Taco, Taco Bell, restaurants of that sort. very cheap, low quality food. But this is what you're seeing popping up everywhere. You're not seeing the mom and pop restaurants. You're not seeing restaurants that serve good, healthy food. What you are seeing is fast food, cheap food for the masses. The masses don't have a lot of money, so people are looking for places that they can eat for $5 to $10 or even less. And so again, everywhere you go, you see tons and tons of fast food, garbage food type restaurants. And this is what America now is living on. This is what America is growing up on, is food filled with GMO, fillers, garbage. This is what people are eating today. And this is why we're seeing so many sick people. This is why we see so many unhealthy people out there. This is why obesity is going to be one of the number one killers in America, if not the number one killer in America, will be obesity. And just think about the types of diseases that obesity causes. It's wrecking people. Again, look at what people are putting in their bodies. When you don't have a lot of money, you don't have a lot of choices. Please comment down below. Tell me if this economy is affecting you. I'd be very curious to know what you're cutting out, what you've had to cut out in your life, what your family's cutting out, maybe even what your business is cutting out right now because of this economy. Even though they say the economy's booming, I certainly don't see a lot of evidence of that. Maybe you do, and maybe the economy's doing good in your area. But for the people out there where it's not so good, what are you cutting out? What is your family or your business cutting out? What are you individually cutting out? Please comment down below. I'd be very curious to know. Obviously, less people will be probably taking trips because they may have to cut out their summer vacation. Less people, maybe going to the dry cleaners, maybe cutting that out. Maybe people are getting their house cleaned less often. Sporting events. Now the National Baseball Association is very concerned with attendance. The ballparks are empty. Is this a sign of working around? Are people going to not go to as many games? Maybe the person that goes to 10 baseball games a year now is going to go to 5. People are cutting things out. I think it's very apparent with what's going on. People, I can tell you from what I see out here, where we have, 150 golf courses, something like that. A lot of the country clubs have had major financial problems. And so what they're doing now, what they've been doing the last couple of years is, even though it's a private country club, they're selling memberships to the public. So here you are living in a private country club gated community, and now they're selling memberships to the outside public to come in and use the facility at a discounted rate, because they've got to take care of the expenses. So if they can't get people to buy a membership for $40,000 or $50,000 or more, they're going to go to the outside and sell a membership for $5,000 or $10,000 to bring the public in. So we're starting to see that, and we've been seeing that for a couple of years out here in the golf communities. But everybody is being forced, one way or another, to tighten up. You look at the stores today. Like, for instance, I went to Walmart a couple nights ago, and you talk about tightening up. Here's a store that literally the people working there can barely function. They can, I think, barely even breathe on their own. But this is what you're getting for, the minimum wage. People don't really, they don't have any pride in their job. They're not taking pride in their appearance. They have no pride whatsoever, and it shows, because they don't want to be there. They don't care. They don't care about you. And this is the service that we're seeing a lot in the retail sector, unfortunately, because they're just, getting people at the bottom of the barrel. They're, a lot of these places are trying to keep prices down, and doing so, they have to pay the bare minimum for help. And it kind of comes down to, you get what you pay for. Me personally, I would rather pay a little bit more for something and get really good service. Even at a restaurant, even if I pay a little bit more, if the service is really good, I really appreciate that. It makes the experience better. But if I go to a store, I want to get in, I want to get out. If I go and buy a box of ammo, because the ammo's locked up at Walmart, it could take 15, 20 minutes to get somebody with a pulse to come open up the case to get me some ammo. And so I just burned 15, 20 minutes of my time waiting, for some zombie to come open up the case. So, but this is where we're at with society. This is where we're at with our shopping selections, our retail selections, where you're getting the bare minimum, and it shows. I think more people are waking up to the fact that they're going to have to deal with reality, and they're going to be forced to deal with even more reality as things continue to spiral out of control here in America. We're told that there's no inflation. We're even told that the economy needs inflation. There is inflation. As I've said many times, the government is saying that inflation's around 2%. Most people will say inflation's around 10 to 12%. You got to take into account what I call consumer inflation: the price of meat, the price of chicken, the price of pork, the price of fruits, vegetables, oil, a car, a house, clothes. All this stuff is skyrocketing. Every week when you go to the store, prices continue to go up. There is barely anything that comes to my mind that is less expensive right now than it was last year. Everything continues to go up. Your dollar has to stretch. It is buying less and less, and reality is setting in for a lot of people. And the bubbles are starting to pop. These bubbles that people live in are starting to pop because they're having to face reality now. Bills are due. People are seeing their bottom lines deteriorate. They're seeing that they cannot stretch their dollars any farther. 46 million people rely on charity food banks to supplement their food intake here in America. 42 million people qualify for food stamps, and millions of Americans are maxed out on credit cards. And that's reality. And the people out there, and they know who they are, know that those credit cards are running out. That when those credit cards run out, there's going to be big trouble when they can no longer borrow to supplement their lifestyle. There are people out there who believe that there is going to be some sort of magical rescue to these problems. And I'm here today to tell you that that's not going to happen. These people, all of us, this country, everyone is going to feel the pain when this recession hits America. We had a decade-long recovery from the last great financial crisis of 2008. And basically what we got was this mindset of just fake it till you make it, which resulted in people just taking on more debt. And they've taken on more debt than ever. And during a time where you have this extreme manipulation in these markets, you have a government that is over $200 trillion in debt. We have an economy and a country that is on life support, yet people for the last decade have been acquiring and taking on more debt, buying more debt, living beyond their means, faking it till they make it, keeping up with the Joneses, doing whatever they can to retain this certain type of lifestyle that they must have. And in doing so, so many Americans, so many households are completely financially bankrupt, just like the entire country. The United States of America is bankrupt. When your country is $200 trillion in debt, which includes unfunded liabilities like Medicare, Medicaid, when you have a majority of your pensions unfunded, you are bankrupt. America is bankrupt. And I don't think we're going to solve anything because I don't hear anybody coming out and admitting that we are bankrupt. How are we going to fix a problem until we admit as a country that we are bankrupt? Before I go, I want to go over a few articles with you very quickly that I believe reinforce what I'm saying today and also reinforce why it is so important to be preparing. There's an article today on shtfplan.com, and it talks about small business owners and why they're preparing right now for a recession. As most of you know, small business is the backbone of America. More than 2/3 of small business owners surveyed said they're taking steps to prepare for an economic downturn, including setting cash aside, reducing expenses, and many have also decided to skip obtaining a line of credit. They're also showing less optimism about the economy than they did a year ago. So major warning sign right there. Another article on tfplan.com, talks about the Postal Service and how they're going to be possibly out of cash by 2024. The United States Postal Service could run out of cash by 2024. This is another government agency that we continue to throw money at just to keep it open. We're paying what, around 48 cents for a stamp, and this Postal Service, the United States Postal Service, cannot make a profit. So why are they open? This is another example of why you cannot rely on the government, especially in an emergency. Can you imagine how many people out there right now believe that if a major emergency takes place in America, that the government is going to save them? The government is going to come to their aid when they can't even deliver mail on time at 40 some odd cents a stamp. Bay Area median home prices dropped for the first time in 7 years. Okay, this is unheard of. This is happening right now. And the last article of the day, Zero Hedge, end game starting in 2024. All U.S. debt issuance will be used to pay for interest on debt. So if you believe there's going to be a magical solution to this, there isn't. Make sure you get your ducks in a row. Make sure you're preparing. Make sure you are a self-sufficient human being. Be your own central bank, because it is coming and you need to be ready.